front and center, of course, is Deion Sanders at Colorado in his first year there.
Thought it was awesome.
86 new players on this team, so he completely wiped the roster clean.
Mm-hmm.
And, he told those guys last year when he took the job, I'm bringing my own luggage in.
Right.
So a lot of them
Huge
knew
turnover,
that.
yeah.
A lot of them knew that. And
I do. Only thing I'll say is incredible win. I do two things. I do feel bad for the guys that he basically forced out.
Oh, you feel bad for them, but they also won like one game last year. So
Yeah, I mean, they weren't good.
It's true, but those kids are all scholarship athletes, and they're just kind of forced out. I do feel bad for them.
but it's a business, and that's why he did it.
I guess. And then I hope he can back it up with some more wins because he was thrilled to throw it in the media's face.
But I love what he
afterwards.
said before the game, and I don't really put stock into pregame speeches getting you fired up. But some of the things that he said, I think, are fantastic. He says, it's not about winning a game. It's not about winning 4 games. Like people have said, if Colorado were to win 4 games this year, it would be a very successful year. He said, we set the standard, and the standard doesn't change. And he's just trying to get his players to get to a certain height. He's got a player playing 2 ways,
It's
which is
incredible.
awesome.
And he's a great player.
Already on the Heisman, profile.
The pick
be
that
my
he had
favorite.
was Travis Hunter's name,
Hunter,
correct?
yes.
The pick that he had was crazy on the goal line because he wasn't even his guy that he was covering. He was covering the guy that was running like an in route into the end zone, and then
he stepped out.
Then he realized the ball's not going here. I'm going to switch this guy on the outside, and he makes a diving stab at the ball to make the pick.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
Look, he got recruited by Georgia, Bama, Clemson,
superstar.
Ohio State. He would have, if it wasn't for prime time, and who
Yeah.
knows how much he got paid to go to Jackson State, but he would have gone to Georgia,
Right.
or one of those blue bloods. He was unbelievable, and the fact that he could play that many snaps.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if he can do that for.
And it was like 90 degrees or higher in Fort Worth that day. Like it wasn't 80 degrees or 75. It was hot.
And TCU was in the national championship game last year.
Correct.
Yeah.
I know they were number 17 coming in. That is a huge win. He had 4 guys, receivers, go for over 100 yards. And his son said after the game, all right, people were kind of doubting on him because he wasn't playing in Division I.
Right.
He said maybe the defensive line's a little bit faster, but I'm a quarterback. And it was a lot of quick passing from what I saw, but credit Deion for assembling a great staff. I heard Pete Medhurst mention this yesterday. Like their offensive coordinator left his head coaching job in the MAC to be the offensive coordinator there. So he's got a good staff in place. He's got them believing. Sure, he brought in all these new players, but I just think it's awesome.
Well, that's what I noticed from the opening drive was Colorado believed they could win that game. TCU wasn't expecting the speed of play that Colorado was running. TCU's tackling was terrible. I mean, bad. TCU's defense really wasn't that good last year. Their offense
They clearly weren't good.
and they weren't good in this game, but Colorado just outplayed them. And look, Colorado's defense wasn't very good either, but they've got 86 new players on that roster. But they did have the best players on the field with Sanders and Hunter. And Dylan Edwards, the freshman, who ran for over 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. But it was just fun to watch. I'm not necessarily a primetime guy, but I can respect what he did. That's not easy to do, what he did.
No, I
to bring 86 players in.
And go beat a top 20 team on the road.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty big
And now
accomplishment.
they have, and his son was, you kind of feel really good, especially you having a son playing in college sports. He had to have felt that much higher that his son played like that.
Threw for 500 yards.
Yeah.
500 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Set a school record.
Set a school record.
Pretty sick.
And, he was getting criticized, like you said, JP. He was getting criticized, saying he can't do this at the FBS level. Well, he did.
Can you imagine what Folsom Field is going to be like when Nebraska rolls in this week? I mean, that place is going to be just insane.
They have to beat Nebraska. Nebraska can't score.
Well, they're only favored by 3.5.
Well,
It's a pretty low number.
Nebraska scored 10 points against Minnesota, and their quarterback, Jeff Sims, who's a transfer
Colorado
from Georgia
should
Tech,
win,
threw
but
3 picks.
That's a classic stub your toe type of
It could
game
be.
after a huge road
It
win.
could be. I just think that Deion will have them ready for that one.
Right.
The home opener.
What year is Hunter? Is he a sophomore or junior?
He's a sophomore. I think.
Sophomore,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's got to play another year.
Yeah, but the fact that he was playing both ways in that heat,
It's amazing.
I mean, I couldn't even believe
That's
it.
the best story in football right now.
It was a great story. It was fun to watch. I watched pretty much the entire game. It was fun.
I think him playing both ways and being that dominant.
Yeah. Oh, he's special. I mean, he's a first-round pick. He's special.
Incredible.
All right, Matt, I don't know what kind of clips you have, but you can run whatever you want. I don't know if this is pre or post.
This is post-game when Deion is calling out the media.
Okay.
What's up, boss? You believe that? You hold on. Oh no. Do you believe in that? Huh? Oh no. I read through that bull junk you wrote down. I read through that. I sifted through all that. Yeah. Oh no. Come on. Do you believe? You don't believe. You just answered it. You don't believe. Next question.
I think that was directed at Ed Werder. I might be mistaken, but I think it was Ed Werder.
Saying Ed Werder.
Wrote a column.
But also, it's not the journalist's job to be a cheerleader for the Colorado Buffaloes.
That's true.
Like,
See, I wish you had the
that's what he has to
pregame.
realize.
But he's using it to motivate his team, and he uses a chip as he told his team before the game, believe in yourself. We know what we can do. We coming is his thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously are.
We would all probably react the same way if we were getting criticized for months at how Prime did it. Now, Prime's ego is through the roof, all right, and it always has been. But we would probably act the same way if we were doubted and we were criticized for how we were putting the program together. You got no chance of winning more than a game or two in your first year, and now they're 1-0, got a chance to go 2-0. We would probably be as defensive as Primetime
Maybe.
is.
What did he say about Florida State? Because Danny Cannell was all upset on social media that
I didn't hear.
he didn't.
Unless he said something in the presser.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Apparently, he did not pay enough reference to the school the game to start, according to Danny Cannell.
Gotcha. So Danny Cannell was pissed off?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He said
Oh, is
that-
that because last week when he said, I'm an HBCU guy, I graduated from HBCU, and they called Deion a Seminole, and he said, I'm not a Seminole, I'm an HBCU guy.
Maybe
Yeah, I
that's
don't
know.
maybe
Kinda
that's
disrespectful.
Deion went to Florida State.
yeah, maybe that's what he's referring to.
I mean, he made his bones at Florida State and turned himself into a pro at Florida State.
That's
Like,
as a player.
right. That's what I'm talking about.
But he's talking about as a coach.
yeah, but people still
Did you know
recognize him
Deion
more as a player than
from
as
what
a,
he did as
than
a
as
player.
a coach.
Yeah. I mean, he's
I do, at
famous
least.
for being the best,
Yeah, I mean,
one of
he
the best
should-
corners
Look, I
of all
understand
time.
he did a really good job at Jackson State, and the debut at Colorado was, through the roof. Nobody expected that. But I'll always consider him more of a player than a coach.
Of course.
At this
Well,
point,
maybe
that's
for
just-
now.
At this
Well,
point,
because that's
yeah.
what I grew up with.
Man, I agree with you. At this point, he's more of a player than a
Yeah.
coach to me, but I know everyone raves about him as a coach. So
we'll see.
I bet you the
I
NFL
wonder-
is going to start paying attention. I know it's one game in.
I don't know.
It's
I wonder
one
if-
game
I
in,
have
but
no
if he
idea.
does well,
I wonder if
why
more,
wouldn't they?
I wonder if more people, based on how he reacted after the game, are going to root against him more.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a component of that.
It kind
I'm
of rubs
sure
you
there
the
will
wrong
be.
way when someone is that obnoxious after a win.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
But he's
that's
entertaining.
his ego. I mean, that's his personality. He's been like that since he was a freshman at Florida State.
it's his ego, but it also galvanizes his team.
I agree.
Like his team's on his side.
It's certainly working.
It's an us against the world mentality.
Now let's see how
fine.
it all plays out through 12 games. But
Why is Drab and Valdez? Why are they laughing? Do they have a bet on something?
Valdez bet me $5 that JP today would say NFL teams are going to want Deion.
Oh, look at that. That's a big win. That's a fat $5
Why
win
wouldn't
in
they?
your pocket.
So
So
did
did
you-
you take the bet?
Of course, because I'll take any action.
ship it.
I mean, Matt Rule just left the NFL, right?
Yeah,
College
well,
coaches go to the pros all the time.
By the
And
way,
he
here's-
clearly can galvanize
He was forced
players.
to leave the NFL.
Here's just
If
part
you look at his staff, Pat Shermer's on his staff as a quality control assistant. He has a character coach. He's got some unique things. I didn't think it was that big of a deal or anything. He doesn't have captains. He has leaders. But he is doing it his own
If
way.
you look
And I
at
think I like some of the things that he says. He said he's trying to build fathers. He's trying to build great sons, great players. He wants them all to go to the pros.
I like that.
If you look at the resale market, by the way, here's just another way you measure the impact. Utah Baylor tickets are going for $26. Let's see. Ball State Georgia tickets, $23. The cheapest ticket to get into Folsom Field,
for the Nebraska game.
$370.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, I think their merch sales are up like 800%.
Well, that's what he said after the game. He said, "Look, everyone at Folsom Field and Boulder, they all believe now.
Mm-hmm.
The higher ups, in the athletic department, they believe. School president believes. So, look, I mean, I was surprised. They were a 21-point dog.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't think they were going to win the game. No chance. And just based on all the analytics on the roster, we had no idea how good Shedeur Sanders was going to be at the FBS level. I knew Travis Hunter was a great recruit, but we had no idea how that was going to translate. They translated.
Well, it also tells me that you bet TCU overs all season. That defense.
And maybe Colorado overs.
Maybe Colorado overs, too. Had a lot of over.
A couple other things from the weekend that we mentioned. Virginia Tech, they beat Old Dominion. They looked much better offensively. Let's see if that translates this week against Purdue.
Hokies a 3-point favorite at this point.
3-point
50
favorite.
is the over-under number in that tilt.
Yes. Terps beat Towson 38-6. Tua, I think, accounted for 4 first-half touchdowns. I'm sorry, Talia. Accounted for 4 first-half touchdowns. I was hoping Roman Hemby would put up some bigger numbers for me.
He didn't do much.
Your college fantasy league, that has to be the reason.
But you know what? They just they kind of cruised. Last night, there was only one game, and it was Duke and Clemson. Clemson was about a 13.5-point favorite, and Clemson never loses to Duke. Mm-hmm. But maybe Dabo should rethink his stance on the transfer portal because he doesn't take any transfers.
Oh, well,
not any.
I think he's going to change his tune on that.
And I get it. He's taking a stance, right? This is his belief, his old school mentality. He doesn't like the system. He doesn't like the NIL. He doesn't like the transfer portal.
It might be his stance prior to losing to Duke.
But it's a fluky loss. I heard him talk about this afterwards, and I heard the stat. I think they were 108-0 when they've had over 200 yards rushing and 200 yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. It was absurd. But I guess, they had first and goal situations where they didn't convert. They had kicks that were blocked. A lot of kind of bad luck from Clemson's side offensively. They had 2 fumbles.
I wouldn't put that as bad luck. You're just not ready to play.
You know who I bet takes
I think you need better players.
Georgia, Ohio State. I would guess they all take Michigan probably take transfers. He's gonna change his tune on that within, I would guess, a year or 2.
I don't know either.
When he starts getting lapped and starts losing to Duke, that's gonna make him rethink his philosophy.
He can say it's a weird game because that's what he said after the game. It was one of the weirdest games. That's fine. You scored 7 points against Duke.
Right.
All right. That's not just weird. It can't be weird over 60 minutes. You got outplayed.
Yeah.
And maybe you need better players. This Cade Klubnik kid, the quarterback, has been talked about for 2 years. He wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. So that was a big loss. And then, there was just
LSU got spanked.
A couple other things. LSU getting spanked. Brian Kelly said before the game, we're going to beat Florida State.
He's very unlikable.
He's not likable.
When he takes big fat L's,
I root against him.
I kind of chuckle.
I root against him.
Kind of makes me
laugh.
You
don't like when he does the fake accents?
Well,
I just don't like it.
He was complaining about the clock. Like, what are they doing that's different with the clock?
Oh, they're not stopping the clock on first down.
On first downs. And by the way, it's a disaster. Watching college football is a disaster.
Because
there's 10 billion commercials.
They've added commercials.
It's almost unwatchable.
That's why you guys kind of switch back and forth to other games, I guess. But anyway, there were some huge blowouts. I mean, Oregon won by 74.
Oklahoma just gave Arkansas State the business.
Arkansas
Coach is basically crying on the sideline.
Butch Jones, he was crying on the sideline.
Crying on the sideline. Like, dude, you gotta keep it together for the sake of your team. Yep. What are you doing? I understand you're getting just the beat down and you're getting humiliated. If you want to cry in the locker room, maybe in your office, maybe, but not on the sideline where your player has to console you when you're down like 73-0.